Hi everyone, welcome back, hope you're all doing really well. So I'm going to be putting on some makeup in today's video, which is why I'm coming to you totally makeup free. I feel like I've been doing that quite a bit recently on my channel. I feel like there's been a few videos recently where I've been putting on some makeup, but today I want to do a full face of makeup with tips and products and techniques that are recommended for people who are over 30 years old. So I am 33 years young, shall we say. I turned 33 on the 3rd of January, and when you reach 30, your skin does start to change. I've noticed since hitting 30 that my skin has become more sensitive. I've got more redness, especially on my cheeks. I don't think they're too bad today though. And my skin feels more dehydrated. It feels tighter, it feels thirsty. And that is affecting my makeup. It's affecting how my makeup is sitting on my skin. It's affecting how my texture looks. It's affecting like the overall appearance of makeup. And I am somebody who never really changes their makeup routine, and I watch so many videos on YouTube and TikTok where people are showing some new techniques that they've learned. They're showing their updated routine, and the information is really useful, and I watch it going, that's really good, that's a really good tip, I should put that into practice. And then I never do. So I thought it would be a good idea to look into the information that's out there for people who are over 30 and the makeup products and the techniques and tricks that are recommended for you. So I've gone through TikTok, I've gone through YouTube, I've done a little bit of research on Google as well, and I've written down a long list of some tips and tricks and things like that to put into practice. So that's what I'm going to do in today's video. I'm going to do a full face of makeup products and techniques that are recommended for people who are 30 and over. So if you yourself fit into that category, hopefully this is going to be useful, and if you yourself have some really useful tips, please do let me know in the comments. Okay, so the first step in any good makeup routine actually isn't the makeup itself, it's skincare. It's making sure that your skin prep is on point before you even put any makeup on your skin. So it's all about hydration, especially when you're into your 30s, because that's something I have really noticed recently. So it's lots of hydrating products and just making sure that your skin is feeling nice and juicy and nice and hydrated. So I've already done my morning skincare routine. I've got some SPF on as well, which is my ultraviolet clean screen, SPF 30 I think it is called. So my skincare is, I suppose, kind of done, but one of the tips I saw was to actually go in with an eye cream first before you do any of your makeup. So I'm going to be doing that. I don't have a daytime eye cream. The only eye cream I've got has retinol in it, and it is about 11 AM in the morning I think, so I'm not going to be putting any retinol on my face whilst the sun is out. So for eye cream, I'm just going to use a little bit of my moisturiser, which is the Soonjung 2x Barrier Intensive Cream. And I'm just scraping off the excess that's on top there, because I don't need much because it is just for my under eyes. And also, this isn't an eye cream, so it's not, you know, designed and formulated to be used under your eyes, but it is a very hydrating product. And to be honest, when I do my moisturiser, I do bring it over my eyes anyway, and my eyes are fine with it. So I think it will be okay. And I have heard as well that eye cream is a little bit of a con. You don't really need an eye cream unless you've got a real specific problem that needs targeting. You can actually get away with using your moisturiser as an eye cream. Second tip is having a hydrating primer. Now, if you have just done your skincare routine and your skin is still feeling really hydrated and plump from your skincare products, then I suppose you can kind of skip this. But I did my skincare about half an hour ago, so I do think I need something more hydrating on my skin. So the only primer I've got is the NYX Plump Right Back Primer, and this is a hydrating primer. It's like a clear jelly. I've got 2 pumps of this. This is quite hydrating, but it doesn't quite live up to the Bobbi Brown face base in my opinion. So there are better hydrating primers out there, but like I say, this is the only one I've got, so this is the one obviously that I'm going to use. Now, another tip I saw was to use a colour corrector under your eyes, and I do this every time I wear makeup. I love the Bobbi Brown corrector. I've used the pot before. This is the stick, and I prefer the stick because it's a lot easier to get onto your face, and it's slightly easier I think as well to blend in. It's not as creamy as the pot is. So I suppose the idea with this tip is to just help to cancel out your dark circles, give your complexion a bit more of an even appearance, a bit brighter as well, makes you look less tired. So good to know that I already do this tip. That's a big tick. And I've got this in the shade Light Bisque for reference. Right, so next up is foundation, and it's recommended that you go for cream formulations over like a powder foundation. Using too much powder when you're over 30 years old can be quite drying, so if your skin is quite dry to begin with, you don't want to exacerbate that by putting on more powder. So creams and liquids, but also the level of coverage as well. So try to kind of minimise your use of really heavy, matte, thick formulations. Instead go for like a lighter or medium type of finish, and also tinted moisturisers are a really good option as well. If you don't have a tinted moisturiser, you can mix in your foundation with some of your moisturiser to create a little bit of a hybrid product. But what I did, I've actually gone and bought a hydrating tinted moisturiser, and it's one that I've seen so many videos of on TikTok, and I've had this saved on my ASOS account in my basket for quite some time. It's the L'Oreal Paris True Match Nude Plumping Tinted Serum, and I do have 3 liquid foundations which I really like. I like all 3 of them, but there have been days where they've just felt a little bit heavy, I think. Not so much them on their own, but when I've got the full face of makeup on top, it just seems like it's a lot of makeup. So I want something a little bit lighter, something a little bit more breathable, and I have had my eye on this for quite some time, so I'm excited to try this in today's video. It only arrived yesterday, so this is going to be a first impressions. I've got mine in the shade 2 to 3 light. Just going to give this a shake, and it's a pipette as well. It's a pipette dropper. I'm going to try to do it like the girls on TikTok do. Oh, that's not working at all. I'm not going to apply the actual pipette to my skin directly. So I've got a little drop there, but I've got some on my hand, so I'm just going to dip my brush into this and apply it like this. So this has got hyaluronic acid in it, which helps it to be quite a hydrating formula. It looks hydrating. I'm not sure how much of this I'll need, how much of a covering I'll need, and I do have some blemishes here as well, so intrigued to see how it's going to cover them. Definitely need some more. So that's one very light layer. Definitely need some more, definitely need to cover some of these blemishes, but I like how light it is. I like that it still looks a bit like skin, but obviously need a bit more coverage. So just some more on my hand. I think this is a good shade match for me as well, and it does seem that you can build this up as well. Now it's covering those blemishes a little bit, but definitely need concealer over the top of them. But this is a lightweight formula, this is a light finish, so it's not going to totally cover up any blemishes or any pigmentation issues, but I do like the fact that it does look quite natural, looks nice and radiant, healthy. I think this would be a great option for those days where you want a little bit of coverage, a little bit of something on your face, but you don't want to be wearing what feels like a heavy foundation. And I usually have problems with foundation here in between my brows, but it doesn't seem like I've got any texture problems going on there with this. Just to zoom you in a little bit more, this is how it's looking. So I've got some level of coverage going on. Obviously not really kind of covered those. I will go in with some concealer. But it looks quite healthy, it looks quite radiant. I think if my skin was looking a bit better today and I didn't have my blemishes, I think this would be even more beautiful. But I quite like this so far. Interested to keep using this one and see if my opinion changes at all. So the next tip is to do with concealer, and the one I'm going to use is the VIEVE Modern Radiance Concealer. I've got mine in the shade 3, and the tip is to apply less concealer. So really think about where you're putting it. So put it in your darkest areas. So instead of doing a big line or a triangle and filling it in, only apply it where you need it, and then as you blend it out you can cover other areas underneath your eye with the excess product. And I suppose this tip also applies to foundation as well, is use less than what you think. I think when a lot of us do our makeup, and me myself, I do this as well, is I do a pump of foundation and put it absolutely everywhere, and I might not need it everywhere. I might only need actually a little bit of concealer in a few places. I might not need a full face of foundation. So I suppose it's taking the time to actually look at your skin and look at your face and go, how much coverage do I really need? But then again, if you want to apply a full face of makeup, a full pump of foundation, go for it. It's your face, it's your makeup routine. Now, if you have some lines underneath your eyes, I've heard a tip that if you smile and then apply your concealer, you apply it in the areas where the creases, where the wrinkles aren't visible. Because if you apply concealer directly to any fine lines, any wrinkles underneath your eyes, it can sometimes highlight it a little bit more. So then when you're blending out your concealer, the excess would then cover those areas. Just going to put some concealer on some of my blemishes. I'm going to use a concealer brush to blend this out, and I don't often use a concealer brush. I tend to use a damp sponge, but you will get more coverage with a brush, and I guess if you're using less product, you want to make sure that that product covers enough without going in with more product. And actually, having put that eye cream underneath my eyes, that's helping this concealer blend in a lot better as well. It's not picking up on texture, it's not looking dry and really obvious. And also this concealer is really lovely to work with as well. It blends out really beautifully. It's a little bit like a mousse formulation. Now when I use a brush for concealer underneath my eyes, I do like to go in at the end with my finger, with my ring finger, to just gently pat it out as well, and the warmth of your fingers will help with blending it out as well. And that's another tip. Another tip when it comes to doing your face makeup is to use your fingers, use your hands. And I find this tip really useful when it comes to blending out concealer that is over blemishes. I feel like if I use a beauty sponge, it takes away too much of the formulation, too much of the coverage. You get more of like a seamless blend with your fingers. And I still really like how this foundation is looking as well. It's looking really healthy and really natural. Okay, on to bronzer, blusher and highlighter next. Now your placement with your bronzer and blusher really matters. So it's about not sort of concentrating it on the cheeks. You want to go higher up on the cheekbones, and you want to do that because it helps to lift the face. So place your blusher and your bronzer just slightly higher up than you possibly would do normally. Make sure it's on the cheekbones and you get that lifted, sculpted effect. And also use more blusher than you would do bronzer, because you want that healthy glow, that healthy natural sort of flush as well, because having that flush using blusher does actually add more of a youthful look to your makeup. And with blushes and bronzers as well, the formulation again matters, so it's trying not to rely so much on powder formulations, which can be drying. Instead go for cream formulation, so they're more hydrating and they make your face look a little bit plumper and hydrated as well. So I'm going to use a cream bronzer, and I recently bought this. This arrived yesterday. This is the Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer in the shade Light. Excited to try this, not tried this one either, so this one is also going to be a first impressions. So interesting to see what I think of this one compared to the Fenty one that I recently used up. Now I don't know how pigmented this is, so I'm just going to do that and see how far that takes me. So placing it higher up on my cheekbone. Not coming out too much, but I'd rather do that than going really heavy-handed. Now again, I was on TikTok and YouTube and Google trying to figure out what the best cream bronzer was, and I was shopping around trying to find a good discount, even trying to see if it was in stock online. And I was looking at products like the Say one, the Rare Beauty one, NARS, but the thing is that they're quite expensive and I didn't want to spend a load of money on a cream bronzer. And then I saw some videos saying that this one was a really good drugstore lower price point option. So I picked this one up from, oh, I didn't blend in that bit of concealer there. I picked this one up from Look Fantastic, and it's £6, but I got it down to like £4.74 or something, so bargain. So even if it's not amazing, at least I haven't spent loads of money on it. but actually the colour seems to be quite nice, quite a good match for me, easy to work with, not too pigmented, so you can build it up. I'm trying to keep this high up on my cheekbones as well. That's really nice, that looks really juicy. It doesn't seem to have any shimmer in it as well, so if you don't like a shimmery bronzer, this is a really good option for you as well. And yeah, I feel like this looks quite natural. Looks like a nice healthy radiant glow, very easy to work with as well. That's blended in really nicely but helped to give a bit of definition and a bit of life to my skin, so I like that one. So next is blusher then, and I'm going to apply my blusher slightly higher than my bronzer, so again helping to create that kind of lifted, sculpted effect. I'm going to use a cream as well. I only have one cream blusher. This is the STILA Convertible Colour Dual Leaping Cheek Cream in the shade Lilium. I am torn with this blusher because this actually isn't the right kind of shade for me because it's a little bit too cool tone pink, but it's very pretty and I love the formulation of this. So I do in the future want to maybe try a peachy cream blusher, maybe from STILA as well. But also I just love a cream formulation of blusher. Now this is very pigmented, so I'm just going to dot some on the back of my hand and just apply that a little bit higher than the bronzer. So it's not bringing your blusher onto like your cheek area, it's trying to kind of keep it a bit higher up. And I like to put a little bit of blusher just along my forehead. That was a tip I heard from Wanye Goss, because apparently it like ties in with the blusher that's on your cheeks. Let me zoom you in just a little bit more, so hopefully you can kind of see it's a little bit juicy. It's a nice flush going on. It's a nice healthy kind of effect without having like harsh defined lines. It's keeping things nice and soft and blended. Let's do a little bit of highlighter. So I've got the VIEVE Skin Dew XL. I do have a nice glow going on anyway from the cream products, but I'm just going to add in a little bit of highlighter into the mix as well. And again, it's a cream liquid formulation, so no powders that are going to look a little bit drying. Now I know I've said to kind of reduce the amount of powder that you are going to be using, so I will just use a little bit of powder just underneath my eyes, just a little bit, just to kind of set that concealer but without it kind of looking too heavy. And I like to do a little bit by the side of my nose there, a little bit on my chin, and then a little bit in between my brows as well, just to bring down that shine just a little bit. Moving on to eyebrows next, and the tips are about just keeping in with your natural brow shape, natural brow colour. And this is something that I tend to do anyway. I'm very basic when it comes to my eyebrows. I use a clear brow gel and then a pencil. Ideally I would have a tinted brow gel because I like that 2-in-1. So it's just some brow gel and then a little bit of pencil here by my nose just to fill in some of the gaps, but I'm just doing strokes to make it look like hair and blend it in with the rest of the brow. And this is the NYX Micro Brow in the shade Taupe, and I feel like it's a really good mix for my brows. Before we move any further with the eyes, I am just going to spray my face with some setting spray. That was another tip I came across as well. If you spray your face with setting spray regularly, that's going to help the appearance of it as well. So next tip for the eyes is to also use some cream products. So I've got a couple of eyeshadow sticks from VIEVE. So I'm going to start off with the shade Sand and run that all over my lid. And these are so easy to use. You just draw it on your lid, take a fluffy brush and blend it out. Done. And another tip I heard was to use a small amount of a darker shade in the outer third of your eyes just to lift it a little bit. So I've got a slightly darker shade from VIEVE, one of the eye ones. This is in the shade Camel. So I'm going to do a little bit of that in my outer third and then try and blend that up again to help create that kind of sculpted look. And same thing with the other eye. And the overall effect is just so much softer than a powder eyeshadow. Now you're not going to get as much definition, as much of like a clear difference between the shades that you're using on your lids. And that's just the nature of a cream eyeshadow. Now you can use powder, I suppose, but the same sort of principles applied. Go for a light colour and then a darker one on the outer third to lift. Just running some of that under my lower lash line as well. So for the lower lash line you want to stay away from like a dark pencil, like a black pencil under the eyes and then smudged out. It's going to be too harsh. So you want a lighter colour underneath your eyes to define them, but not look too harsh and like it's dragging your eyes down. Another tip was to not use shimmer all over the lid. Instead just use it in like the inner corner and the, I suppose, the inner third of your lid. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use a little bit of Ounce from Urban Decay Naked Heat. So this is going to just brighten up the eye a little bit. And instead of putting that same shimmery shade underneath your brow bone, instead put a matte ivory shade underneath your brow bone instead. This will help to highlight the area, but without bringing any attention to maybe like a hooded eye perhaps, or any sort of like drooping of the lid, which is what a shimmer can sometimes do. And for eyeliner, you want to use something a little bit softer than black. So a brown would be a good idea. I'm going to use Summer Delicious, also from the VIEVE Essentials palette. And I'm just going to apply this to like the outer part of my eye and create a little bit of a wing to get a bit of lift. That little wing is going to again help to lift the eye. And also, if you're not good with a winged eyeliner, like I'm not good with that typical winged liner, as it's just a small one, it's just a small little flick. It's a lot easier to do. I don't have any tips written down for mascara, but I'm going to curl my lashes, and that's just going to help open out the eyes a little bit, make them look a bit more awake. So I've now started layering my mascaras. I always use a tubing mascara, but tubing mascaras aren't really great for volume. They do tend to kind of weigh your lashes down, and they do make your lashes quite straight. So I've now got the Maybelline Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara in brown. This is meant to be really good for volume, and so far so good. So I start off with a bit of this just to get some volume. And then I use my Clinique Lash Surge in Dark Chocolate, which is a brown tubing mascara. So hopefully this is going to stop that Maybelline one from smudging. And that's really why I use a tubing one, because you don't get any smudging. And I'm not going to apply any mascara to my lower lashes, because that can actually close the eye up a little bit. Your eyes look more awake and more open if you have mascara just on your top lashes. Okay, so lastly, let's do lips then. Now I'm going to line my lips first, and the tip that I came across for lining your lips is that you don't want to line the outer corners, because that can actually make the lips look a little bit thinner than they are, and when you get older your lips do get a little bit thinner. So for most people, they want to keep their lips looking nice and full and plump, so not lining the outer corners is going to help with that. So I am going to line under there and the Cupid's bow and avoid those outer corners. And I've got the NYX lip liner in Peekaboo Neutral. So I'm stopping there, I'm not bringing it up there. It does feel very weird to stop there though. I'm gonna fill that in a little bit. This is a beautiful brownie pink nude. It's got a nice bit of warmth and richness behind it. And then the last tip for your lips is to go for glossy and balmy textures and finishes, because this is going to help your lips look hydrated and nice and juicy and kissable. Sometimes wearing a lipstick, especially if it's a drying matte formulation, can highlight dryness, it can highlight like lines and tightness in your lips as well, and it can sometimes make your lips look a little bit smaller. So going for a glossy effect is a little bit like a mirror effect. It makes your lips look a little bit bigger. So I'm going to use my KIKO 3D Hydra lip gloss. Brilliant lip glosses. I've got this in the shade 19 and I think this will work really well with the lip liner. And then last little bit again, spray with some setting spray. Now I find this tip a little bit odd to continuously spray your face with setting spray, because setting spray contains alcohol, which is quite drying, but it does make your makeup last longer. And if you are mostly using cream products, you do want your products to last longer, because creams don't usually last as long as powders. So I'm a little bit torn on this one, but if it's going to help the cream products stay a bit longer and maybe keep them looking juicy as well, my cheeks nice and plump and fresh, then I'll stick with it. And just zoom you in a little bit. So this is how the makeup looks close up. So natural defined brows, a light creamy eyeshadow, a little bit of a wing going on, juicy, hydrated, dewy cheeks, and then the lips as well. I really like this tip about the lips. I'm not really sure how well that's coming across, but up close when I was doing the lip gloss, not lining this outer part, I really like that tip. I feel like it's really highlighted the bottom of my lips and my cupid's bow, and has made my lips look a little bit bigger. And then this is the final look. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you think of the tips and tricks, or the products used as well, and also if you yourself have any recommendations, please let me know. But overall, I really quite like this. I feel like my face looks nice and juicy, it looks hydrated, it looks fresh. It's possibly a little bit verging on shiny, but I think where I've put powder a little bit on my T-zone, around my nose and under my eyes, and a little bit on my chin, I don't mind that my cheeks are a bit shinier and a bit dewier and juicier than I would usually have them. I think I really actually quite like that. I really like that lip liner technique as well. I think I'm going to keep doing that. I really quite like that idea. And I really like the foundation as well. I like that it's provided a good amount of coverage. I did need concealer on my blemishes here, but you know, if I've got some breakouts, that's probably not the foundation I'm going to use. I'm probably going to go in with something with a bit more coverage, but I wanted to show it for this video. And I like that the overall look is healthy and radiant. It doesn't look weighed down with powders. Now because of that, it might not be the best makeup for a YouTube video, because for when you're filming, you possibly want to go in with more powder and more coverage and more blusher and bronzer than you possibly would do on your day-to-day life. But saying that, I do think that this is coming across quite well, and I like the fact that it's a very natural foundation as well, which is definitely up my street. So I think this goes to prove that I do need to switch up my makeup routine. I do need to go for more cream-based products, more cream bronzers, cream blushes. I do want to get a couple more cream blushes into my collection, I think. And actually the cream blusher that I've used, that STILA one, is usually a lot more pigmented, so definitely going in with a lighter hand for that really tones down the pinkness, and I don't feel like it's too much of a contrast on my skin anymore. It used to not really be the best colour for me, but going in with much lighter coverage, I feel like it does work. So yeah, I'm going to keep on board to these changes. I'm going to keep using that L'Oreal foundation, that tinted moisturiser. That is absolutely beautiful. The cream products and that lip liner technique as well. So I feel like I've learned a lot from this video, and I hope you have as well. If you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up. Please also subscribe if you haven't as well. I would love to have you here. And have a lovely rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you very soon for my next one.